more and more people are feeling anxious these days? Why are so many of us affected by anxiety? We might be feeling something, but we might not be able to put it into words or diagnose ourselves. Could it be anxiety? I want to mention that one day while I was working on this sermon on anxiety, I was sitting on the couch with a computer and the TV news was on. The news had a special story about a woman author who wrote a book on anxiety. So she talked about how she overcame her anxiety. And some of you might call this a coincidence, but I feel it was a message from Spirit to me. It validated for me to continue with the sermon on the topic of anxiety. I always get a kick out of the communication with Spirit, especially when I was not even asking for help. So back to the topic, Annie. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a feeling of fear, dread, or uneasiness. Anxiety is an emotion described by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. It might cause us to sweat, feel restless and tense, and have a rapid heartbeat. Anxiety is physical and mental. A person's chest may tighten, their head feels cloudy, and they are acutely aware of the effort behind every breath they take. Anxiety can also be a normal reaction to stress, feeling uncertain, or in a risky situation. For example, we might feel anxious when faced with a difficult problem at work, or before taking a test, or while making an important decision, or listening to the news these days. While anxiety has been around for ages, it's difficult to make a substantial argument that people experience anxiety more now than previously. Though there is certainly an argument to be made that in today's fast-paced and interconnected world, anxiety has become an everyday word. And this issue still exists from many different factors in all kinds of forms. So some anxiety is part of everyday life for most of us. Anxiety in social situations may bring up insecurities in a person. They might be thinking, are they laughing at me? I hope I don't mess this up. I hope I don't say anything wrong. When we are with other people and hear a joke we don't understand, we might ask ourselves, was that supposed to be funny? Was I supposed to laugh? This uncomfortableness of the situation may want us to leave immediately. In reality, few really think about what we do or pay attention to us. When we feel this increased anxiousness, we are going through a major depressive episode, but others may think we're just different. It is exhausting when we overthink. It is a toxic cycle. Our thoughts become our worries, and our worries become our thoughts. Have you heard about Chrissy Teigen? Some of you may know her. She's an American model, television personality, author, married to John Legend, and has anxiety. In a Marie Claire magazine article, she openly discussed living with anxiety. She explained how the condition often makes her feel unsteady and worried. She said, quote, "Every step I take feels a little shaky. It is such a weird feeling that you wouldn't know unless you have really bad anxiety. You feel like everyone is looking at you." Researchers found that thinking negative thoughts is one of the biggest predictions of depression and anxiety. We often accept future events to be worse than they really are, but future events usually turn out better than we thought. Some people have high functioning anxiety, but it may not be obvious to others. While those living with this condition are dealing with side effects, they might hide it well from their loved ones. People who struggle with this disorder often experience excessive worry, panic, and sometimes headaches. As with any other mental health condition, the more people know about it, the better. If we do not have anxiety, but we know someone who has anxiety, please do not offer them advice. If the person with anxiety says, "I'm sorry, I'm having a bad anxiety day," can we reschedule? Please do not tell them there's nothing to worry about. And if they just got out of bed, they'll see that everything is fine. This is not a good thing to say with people, for people with anxiety. And I'm going to suggest another phrase not to use, and that is calm down. As women have heard that. So not only is this a demeaning statement said to anyone, a person with anxiety cannot calm down. For them, finding the ability to relax, especially on demand, is even more difficult. So here's a story I came across in my research. Once there was a young warrior. Her teacher told her that she had to do battle with fear. She didn't want to do that. It seemed too aggressive. It was scary, and it seemed unfriendly. But the teacher said she had to do it and gave her the instructions for the battle. The day arrived. The student warrior stood on one side and fear stood on the other. The warrior was feeling very small and fear was looking big and wrathful. They both had their weapons. The young warrior roused herself and went toward fear. She bowed 3 times and asked, "May I have permission to go into battle with you?" Fear said, "Thank you for showing me so much respect that you asked permission." Then the young warrior said, "How can I defeat you?" Fear replied, "My weapons are that I talk fast and I get very close to your face. Then I completely unnerve you and you do whatever I say. If you don't do what I tell you, I have no power. You can listen to me and you can respect me. You can even be convinced by me. But if you don't do what I say, I have no power. In that way, the student warrior learned how to defeat fear. So what can we do when we feel anxious? Anxiety is a process. There are no universal right or wrong ways to deal with it. Go for what feels comfortable to you, and don't beat ourselves up if things don't go perfectly. Take things at the speed we need. This is really not as complicated as we have made it out to be. If we're anxious about an issue and we keep thinking about the thing that makes us anxious, we get even more anxious. If we would like to stop being anxious, we would have to intentionally think about other things. Accept the thoughts are happening. Don't put anxious thoughts out of our mind, but rather face them head on. When something is provoking those emotions, then avoiding it feels good. And because that feels good, it actually reinforces the anxiety. So to avoid the feeling of anxiety, we can put our thoughts into perspective by asking questions that help reframe our fear. Some might call it stepping outside of ourselves and weigh the evidence back and forth. This may help us come to a more rational view of the situation. We might want to engage in calming activities like meditation, yoga, tai chi, exercise, or just go for a walk, which have proven mental health benefits. Doing something different may help calm and distract our mind. We may want to ask, will this situation matter in 5 years? If the answer is no, then there's no reason to be concerned about. When our anxiety levels are low, we can do things that would normally give us anxiety. We may think this doesn't sound right, but the more we do things that used to make us feel uncomfortable, we can get over our uneasy feelings. We may realize we are not growing or enjoying life as much as we used to. We may think it's because we are too comfortable in our own little world away from people. We should try getting out of our comfort zone, one little baby step at a time. Developing a humorous mindset involves learning to see the lighter side. This doesn't mean ignoring serious situations, but rather approaching them with a sense of humor. Here are some strategies to help us cultivate a humorous mindset. Embrace imperfection. Learn to laugh at our mistakes and accept that nobody is perfect. Find the absurd. Look for the absurdity in everyday situations and allow ourselves to be amused by it. Share laughter. Spread humor by sharing funny stories or jokes with others. So one day, 2 psychotherapists pass each other in the hallway. The first says to the second, "Hello." The second smiles back nervously and half nods his head. When he's out of earshot, he mumbles, "I wonder what that was about." How many anxious thoughts or words that are not true have ruined our perfect day? We should only think on things that are true. What is friendly, good manners, and politeness? Drop the negative thinking or innuendos. Think of the lovely and admirable, the excellent and the praiseworthy. Another technique for anxiety is the 3-3-3 rule. It's an easy technique to remember and use in the moment something is triggering our anxiety. It involves looking around our environment and seeing 3 objects, or hear 3 sounds, and then moving 3 body parts. We all can relate to the experience of being anxious at one time or another in our lives. The message for today is, do not let our anxiety win. Approach it and see it as a visitor, providing information, rather than having to continually search for avoidance strategies. After all, thoughts are just thoughts. They do not have to become our reality. When we choose laughter and embrace the freedom of our thoughts, we will reduce our anxiety. Amen.
Amen.